Welcome to the show. Today my guest is Jay Semko. Jay Semko is a renowned Canadian musician, songwriter, and composer. Best known as the bassist and vocalist for the acclaimed band the Northern Pikes. With a career spanning several decades, Jay has made significant contributions to the music industry, both as a member of the band and as a solo artist. He has released numerous solo albums. If any of this is wrong,
no, it's all good.
Okay, but if any of what I read is wrong, correct me.
Okay.
He has released numerous solo albums showcasing his versatile talent and distinctive style. In addition to his success in the music world, Jay is also celebrated for his work in composing music for television and film, including the beloved soundtrack for the TV series Due South. Jay's dedication to his craft and his ability to connect with audiences through his heartfelt lyrics and melodies have solidified his place as a respected and influential figure in the music scene. So, my first question for you is about your musical beginnings. Can you tell us about your early musical influences and how you got started in the music industry?
Well, sure. First of all, thank you for that very nice intro.
You're welcome.
It was very kind.
I'm glad that it was accurate enough that you didn't correct anything.
Oh, it's nice. It's nice when people say nice things about you. So how did I get started? Well, as a kid, I loved music. I loved hearing music from a young age. I guess some of my earliest music memories were my granny and grandpa Semko. They were both music people. My grandfather, my grandpa Semko, he played the violin, and my granny played the piano and the guitar.
That's a good combination.
Yeah, and they were both first-generation immigrants. They came as small children from Ukraine, and sort of around, just after the turn of the century.
So as a kid, you were listening to violin and piano together.
Well, sort of, I that was the first time I'd actually experienced live music, and then, my dad was trying to learn how to play the guitar, and he had to kind of learn with a music book, teach yourself to play kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with those books.
Yeah, and I had, and I took piano lessons. I went to a school called Clavet School, which was just outside of Saskatoon. We lived on a farm, I guess, really from when I was in grade 1 until grade 7, and they offered piano lessons for relatively inexpensively for people. So I for a couple of years I took piano lessons there, and then and I loved listening to the radio. And I guess we moved into the city. Before I moved into the city, I guess I was 11, so I would have been in grade 6.
I'd like it if this story leads to where the band The Icons. Were you in The Icons?
Or The Idols.
The Idols. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's a better name though.
I'm sorry.
Like The Icons.
The Idols. Yeah, that was what the Northern Pikes were originally transmuted from.
Yeah, it was kind of a precursor. Ultimately, okay. To fast forward a bit, I started taking guitar lessons. I moved into the city and took guitar lessons first of all at the YMCA, and then at Gordy Brandt's Music. I was lucky enough to live on a street with a couple of other young people there was a drummer, Jim Walker, and a guitar player, Mark Wolf, a buddy of mine, John Bailey, who played guitar as well, and we kind of started forming bands really when we were like 11 or 12 years old.
Cool.
Continued on forming bands doing through high school and out of high school, and then I guess in 1979 I formed a band with Merle Brick and Mark Wolf and drummer Colin Sander, and we ended up we were called the Idols.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, we were very much influenced by a lot of new wave music at the time, punk rock and new wave music. I found that music very exciting.
So was the Idols basically the early version of the Northern Pikes?
Kind of, but we were different. We had eventually Don Schmidt joined the Idols, who became the drummer in the Northern Pikes. Merle Brick played guitar and sang in the Idols, and we also we were a 5-piece band for a while, and then we became a 4-piece band with our 4th member being Neil Morgan, and we played, I guess, from 1979 off and on till about 1982. I played with them until 82, and then I left the band. And then I formed another band with John Sinclair and Robin Billington and Al Edgar called 17 Envelope. And we were in some ways similar to the Northern Pikes, but we had kind
Did
of
you
our own
guys
sound.
release any albums as 17 envelopes?
We recorded an EP that was never released.
Oh.
On that EP, interestingly enough, was a early version of the song Teen Land.
Yeah, I'm aware of that song.
Yeah, and so we had our own version of that. We shot a video for it at the A&W on 8th Street, and then, but anyway,
Was the video ever played on TV anywhere?
No.
Oh.
It was a $100 video. It cost us $100 to record and produce. But the recording was not bad. We did it out at Studio West, which was a studio just outside of Saskatoon, out of Pike Lake. It was actually way ahead of its time because it was like a retreat studio out of the country where you could go and be, kind of on your own and have a place to work on your own there. So, yeah, anyway, the Idols broke up.
So how did the Northern Pikes come together?
Well,
And what were some of the key moments in the band's journey?
Well, I guess one of the first things was like I knew Brian Potvin he had played with Johnny Sinclair and some other people in a band called Doris Day, and they did a lot of shows with the Idols. We did them as a kind of a co-bill.
Did you guys open for them, or did they open for you?
Well, they would open for us. They would do the first set, but it was.
So you were the headliner?
I guess so, but I always considered them as equals. We were all
Okay.
buddies, and we all kind of hung out together and stuff. And so, and then Brian and I kind of formed a three-piece band with a drummer who sang as well by the name of, her name was Leslie Leppy, and we were called the Maximums. We never did any gigs. We were a cool band. It was a three-piece band, but it never happened. A bunch of things occurred along the way. Brian and I both ended up going back to university. I had been there before and had done a year in university before.
Did you ever finish a university? I don't know about your education. I only know a little bit about your music. But did you ever finish university? Because I took one semester.
No, I didn't. I didn't finish.
Neither did
I did one full year. I got some credits. I got a year's worth of credits for 1 year, and then went back the second time. And it's a long story, but I had wrist surgery. I couldn't really play the guitar at the time, and I thought, well, let's go do this. I couldn't work. I couldn't really do anything. And along the way, I worked at various jobs too. I had a lot of different jobs.
I'm aware that you also, aside from being in the bands, you also had or have still a solo career. What motivated you to pursue a solo career, and how does your solo work differ from your work with the Northern Pikes?
Well, in terms of solo career, I guess I first started playing, just solo acoustic, where it'd be me with the acoustic guitar, singer-songwriter stuff, playing some covers and songs I had written myself, really sort of in and around the time of the Idols and just after, and around the early days of the Northern Pikes. And I always kind of did that, and that's really how I wrote the lion's share of songs. It's just on the acoustic guitar, although I did write some stuff on the piano as well.
One of my favorite of your songs, as you know, is Mouse in a Hole. I told you that I love that song. My question about that is, when did you write Mouse in a Hole?
Mouse in a Hole. Well, that was kind of, I guess really what happened was the Northern Pikes played, we formed really in 1984. We played until 1993, and I started doing some demo recordings for the possibility of doing a solo album, and that was one of the songs that I had written. And that song is, it's one of those songs. It's kind of like a stream of consciousness story song. It's one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And
I love that song because it's like a small sort of awakening, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely. I tried purposely to leave it somewhat open to interpretation. When you
it could be a metaphor.
Yeah, and we shot a video for it. Director, producer Glenn Kirby did a video for it, which is a great video. I really like it. But it really kind of it defines things in the video, and I guess you had to kind of define it in terms of what would you ultimately what is the story going to be when you're going to add a visual to it, etc.
So I want to ask you some things about your creative process. Can you describe your songwriting process? Do you have a particular routine or environment that helps you write?
That's a good question. No, I would say it's never really consistent. I mean, probably I'd say the majority of songs that I write, I've got at least some lyrical ideas to start with that kind of guide the song as to where it's going to go or what kind of song it's going to be and that kind of a thing. So, but other time, lately I've been trying to kind of write songs without lyrics lately. I'm always experimenting. I'm trying different things, and I like to go and sometimes I like to just play solo bass stuff because it doesn't really define a melody. It hasn't got all the strings that a guitar has or all the chords you can play on the piano. So you can kind of find different melodies by just noodling around on there. And I find quite often a thing that I've lately started doing is instead of strumming out songs and writing things down and doing it in a more traditional way, I'll try and write a complete song in my head. Like I'll think of the chords, think of what I want to do with it, think of the melody, write it all out, and basically create the song in my head, write it down, hum it into my phone.
Cool.
And then and see where it goes and what it comes up with. And I guess part of that is just because I'm able to do that because of experience and having written a lot of music before.
I guess that kind of addresses the next question that I have in my list of questions, which is, where do you draw inspiration for your lyrics and melodies? Are there any recurring themes in your music?
Well, there's always going to be the themes of relationships because,
That's what sells.
well, really, and that's the thing that everybody is. It's a part of everybody's life. It'll never stop. Probably the first song ever written was by somebody thinking about love or a relationship of some sort. Yeah. Like thousands of years ago, and that's continued, and they still are. It's one of the great mysteries of life is how we interact as human beings with each other. And I mean,
she ain't pretty, she just looks that way.
Yeah,
she's a girl with a problem.
Yeah, those are good examples of very different takes on relationships, but that's what they are. They're all that kind of thing. But having said that, I've written music, for specific purposes. Like I wrote some music for a display, sort of a whole thing that was called the Prairie Gamble for the Western Development Museum a number of years ago, and I've written some historical type songs, and it's fun to have a mission. Sometimes people say, "Can you write a song about this?" Or I've written songs, in memoriam of people and for weddings and funerals and things like that. And
you're very prolific.
Well, I just feel like but sometimes I feel like I'm just kind of a conduit for what's going on, and sometimes I'm lucky the universe kind of sends me some ideas and I could channel them into something that can be, listenable and palatable for people. At the same time, I love leaving it wide open. I like co-writing with people.
Have you had any memorable collaborations with other artists?
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of.
How do these collaborations influence your music?
Well, I guess really in 2007, I started going down to Nashville and co-writing with people, some whom I knew a little bit and some I didn't know at all. And I made a lot of friends there and did a lot of co-writing with people. And I think people liked writing with me because I came from a little bit of a different, maybe a different perspective on music than a lot of people were used to down there. And it really is a songwriting mecca, Nashville. There's a lot of
down there they think that all of us up here live in igloos.
Well, not necessarily. There's actually surprisingly a lot of Canadians down there, and it was pretty fun. I mean, I still have lots of great friends there, and I still feel I think I'm due for another writing trip there. But I think it's good to just do a lot of different things as a writer, try a lot of different methods, and throw the dice and see what happens. Cool. And you never know what can happen. And I've memorable writing experiences. Well, I've had some great writing sessions with my friend Tim Taylor in Nashville. Tim and I have written a lot of songs together, and also Steve Fox, another great writer in Nashville that I've written some stuff with. And also I guess really when you look at it with the Northern Pikes, we've, even though an individual may come up with the lion's share of the song or a lot of the ideas, quite often, I would say, like we consider all of our songs co-writes now because the song really wouldn't be what it is without everybody's contribution to a certain extent.
Yeah, the energy of a lot of your songs seems like seems bigger than a single person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
So, I want to switch gears to Due South. How did you become involved in composing the soundtrack for Due South, and what was that experience like?
Well, I guess it was really towards in the last days of the Northern Pikes. I was contacted by Northern Pikes' agent, who was also the music supervisor for this pilot movie, and they said, well, the producer really likes your songwriting and likes your style of writing, and was wondering if you might be interested in trying to write a theme song for the pilot movie for this potential TV series that they're shooting. And at that time they were shooting up in the Yukon before they had come back to Toronto.
That song was one of the things that made the show great, but everything about the show made the show great.
Oh, well, thanks.
Did you ever end up meeting any of the actors from it, or were you just somewhere else writing the music?
No, I did meet a number of the actors. I ended up actually writing a number of songs with Paul Gross, Paul Gross is
he played the Mountie.
Plays the Mountie, Benton Fraser, and yeah, we worked on a lot of music. He and David Keeley were writing partners, and they included me in some of their writing. They put out a couple albums, Gross Keeley Band, and they're quite good. I mean, and I would say, yeah, I met most of the like at the Christmas party and things like that. But in terms of people who I consistently would hang out with, I guess Paul was somebody that I wrote a lot of music with over the years, and had a lot of fun experiences with, actually.
I saw on your IMDb page that you composed a song that was used in that show that was filmed in Saskatoon called Body and Soul. I was in episode 6 of Body and Soul.
Really?
And my mom was in every episode of Body and Soul.
Oh, wow. Now, what was her character in Body and Soul?
I was in the background of one episode, and my mom was in the background of every episode.
Wow. And what was that episode you were in?
I was in the one called Yes Master, or the one with Pat Morita.
Yes, Pat. Yes, from the Karate Kid.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a fun series. It was really I worked on that with Ross Nikiforuk. We co-composed the theme and the music score for it. And it got canceled after 8 shows. It was just a shock because I thought the show was actually doing really well.
While I was on the set, someone told me that they completed filming 13 episodes. Do you know if that's true?
As far as I know, there were 8. We worked on 8 episodes, and it was kind of weird.
Yes, 8 episodes ended up on the air, but I heard things about scenes from further episodes being filmed, but
maybe they edited together further episodes along the way. I don't know.
I have no idea, but my mom was in the background of an episode about a faith healer, and I know that that's not in the 8 episodes that aired. Anyway.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. You were in there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It's too bad I really thought it was an interesting series because it was kind of like traditional medicine meets naturopathic medicine meets a lot of other relationship issues going along. I just thought it was a cool show.
I have a tape somewhere in this. I have a videotape somewhere in this apartment of all the 8 episodes that aired. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about you. How does composing for television and film differ from writing songs for an album? What are some challenges you faced in this area?
Well, your job as a composer, generally you're writing instrumental music. So, although sometimes you're asked to write songs or pieces of songs to fit a scene, for various reasons. But the biggest difference is that your job as a composer is to help to bring to life the producer and director's visual picture that's going on. So you're there to be part of their world. They're not trying to accommodate you.
Your song for Due South pretty much defined that world.
Well, I was lucky, and from square one, I had a vision that it seemed very organic and acoustic oriented. And the demos that I did that actually, I guess in some ways, helped me to get the job working on the TV show were very organic. There was lots of harmonica, lots of acoustic guitar. It was very, there was a dulcimer. It was just very folk acoustic oriented, and that's how the picture that I saw, and that was a lot the personality of Benton Fraser, the Mountie, who was from the Yukon, and it was really one of those things where I kind of, I don't know, I had a gift from the universe where I had this idea that came to me, and it worked, and it just was one of those things that it kind of worked within the context of the series, and I was lucky enough to work with two great composers on the show. I mean,
are there any upcoming projects or releases that you're excited about and can talk about for a bit? Are there any
upcoming projects? Well, the audiobook for my poetry book, yes, the poetry and lyrics of Jay Semko, which was published in 2021. The audiobook, I finally finished that, and we're just in the final proofing, and that'll be out quite soon, actually, in the public. And it's kind of a cool thing because there's a mixture. There's some music involved in it. There's also some. Well, obviously, it's reading the poetry, and I did all the read. So I voiced it all and did all the music myself. So it's kind of it was a big project. It was a lot more work than I thought it would be, and it took me a lot longer. But
cool.
But it feels good now that we're done, and I just have to kind of get it out. So
this 22-minute take is almost complete. Thank you for participating.
Hey,
I really appreciate it. I just want to ask you one more question. Can you share a particularly memorable moment or achievement from your career?
Well, it was really nice to be honored with the Western Canadian Music Awards Hall of Fame award that was in 2012, and the Northern Pikes were inducted into the Western Canadian Music Hall of Fame, and that felt good because I really feel like our band contributed in a lot of positive ways to the Western Canadian music scene. I think we were kind of pioneers to a certain extent. We were an indie band that got signed to a major record label and worked our way up the chain, and it was. I feel like that was a proud moment for myself and the guys.
And I'm proud to have met you, and I really appreciate you for doing this little amateurish YouTube show that I do here, and thank you for being on. I consider you a Canadian icon.
Well, you're very kind, Alan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for tuning in.
You're welcome. I hope to see you next week.